Hey, happy Valentine's Day. How y'all doing? I'm all right. Just letting these dogs outside. Hey, go potty. Letting these dogs outside because Mr. and I are headed to our niece's basketball game. It's high school girls basketball, and they're in regionals. And so we're headed there. So I'm letting these dogs out. Go potty! And this little bee, Miss Mocha, I swear, go potty. She is truly a bee. Oh my goodness. So how you doing? So let me tell you, yesterday I watched the Let Them series, part 4, Make Your Move by Pastor Mike McClure Jr. And so I told you about this in a previous video. When I was watching the video yesterday, at the beginning of his sermon, he started talking about how his sermon series had been titled Become. However, his congregation and the internet changed it to Let Them and renamed it. So in yesterday's sermon, he renamed it to Let Them. It was titled Make Your Move, and it was just talking about how we as Christians tend to just want to rely solely on God. We want God to come in and be Captain Save-A-Ho. He didn't say that, but essentially that's what we want him to do. We don't want to have any part in being the change that we want to see. And he's like, sometimes your next question to God should be, God, what's my next step? And he says sometimes God will be like, make your move, like I'm looking for you to step out on faith and do this. And then other times he's like, hey, I just need you to stand still. I got this. And I was like, yeah, okay. That makes a lot of sense. And he just said how, a lot of us are just waiting for people to come in and help us, and especially God. And that, he said the worst thing that God has done for some of us has been so good to us. And he's right. We've become entitled, and it was a really great sermon, blessed me again. And Mr. and I went to dinner last night because we have this game tonight. And at dinner, I was telling Mr. about my revelation to how I think that maybe this time, I've been feeling stuck for the last 3 years, that maybe this is what God wants and where he wants us in our relationship. For those of you that are just joining me and watching and don't know my backstory, I'm Brandy. I quit my corporate job 3 years ago, this coming March, due to what I thought was burnout. But then fast forward 6 months, and I realized I was burnt out of life. In December of 2023, I took a solo trip to Seattle, Washington, and that's where the Runaway Reset was born. And basically, the Runaway Reset is me healing myself through travel. And it's just been my transformative journey. Travel has allowed me to run away and reset, especially solo travel. And I have fallen in love with it as a married woman, and I'm just like, okay, how am I gonna, figure this whole thing out? Because I'm tired of being here in Indiana, and I just need a change. I need a lot of change. And so back to last night at dinner, I was telling Mr. that I thought, hey, I think this is maybe where God God wants me to be. A couple of episodes ago, I made another purchase, and it was 666 again. And the first time that happened to me was back in December. And it happened immediately after another purchase that I made that was 777. And so when I had the 666 purchase, the cashier was like, oh no, look up the angel number of 666. I again looked it up, and it was just talking about how, it's talking about balance and getting your spirit aligned, and just everything that I am like actively working on right now. Not to be concerned with material and financial things, but having your spirit right, and being balanced. We had couples counseling at noon, and our counselor asked us how the week was, and I said, honestly, it was a great week. And I told you guys that earlier in the week, it had been like a rough week at the start of the week. How, God gives you what you need, because I was in need of prayer and my spirit just felt like it was still in fight mode and, all this stuff. And my friend sent me a text with an audio prayer and then sent me this sermon series. And so it was a great week because my husband was there for me. He was, emotionally there, physically. He just, held me in his arms and, just comforted me. I also went to the store grocery shopping because he works every day. And so I wanted to make sure he had breakfast and then make sure he had lunch. I realized I had to stop during the week when I was getting to the grocery store and remind myself that this is a blessing. It is a blessing to be able to take care of him and want to take care of him. It's a blessing that he supports me and wants to take care of me. And that's the beauty of marriage and partnership. Just knowing that, hey, he has my back and I have his, and we're building this trust for one. And it was, come on, Milo, let's go. And it's been a really good week. So then that brings me to my job situation. So I have this GroupMe app for my technician group at work. And I saw that one of the emergency med history techs called off, and there's only one each weekend. So this person calls off every time. It's, basically her shift, and she's PRN, which means she only has to work one weekend a month. A couple of years ago, I had been doing a weekend option where I just worked 2 12-hour days. And I really wanted to be in that role permanently because I liked not being there multiple days, but still meeting my employment status, my requirement to be benefits eligible. I like just doing it in 2 days and then having the other 5 to just focus on stuff for my business. I've had a couple of hurdles with the hospital, or with my department specifically. I shouldn't say the hospital. I've been ready to quit, but I'm trying to be responsible and stuff. I didn't. So I found out today that they may just create this weekend option role and give it to another employee. And so I told Mr. Man, if they do that, I am going to file a grievance. And then I was like, I don't know, maybe 20 or so minutes later, I came upstairs and he was up there, and I said, I'm not going to do that, because for what? If they don't value me and I've been there almost 4 years, then there's not much more that I can do to prove that I need to be there. And so this goes back to Pastor Mike's message, make your move. This is one of those where it's like, what am I going to do? There are other jobs that are out there if, I need to have the job until my own business takes off. But I have to figure it out. And I think, just being there becomes emotionally draining because you're just tired of the BS and tired of the oversights and the slights and whatever else you might have to endure, but you're maybe too afraid to make your move. And so I said to him, you know what? If they don't post the position and really consider me, then I'm done. Because I told y'all in another video, I felt like that ship has sailed, and they've had some changes, and I feel like are trying to be different. And so this is that, I guess, for me, that last opportunity, okay, are you guys trying to be different or are you not? I want to say jobs come a dime a dozen, but, and that I don't know that that's necessarily true. However, I have to, at some point, just bet on myself. And like I was telling you, that I told Mr., well, maybe this is just where God wants us to be right now in our relationship. And when I was talking to Mr. last night, he said, if he's in a position to handle everything, I need to take advantage of it. And, I haven't really been doing that, and things have changed, and I'm changing. Instead of just being, frustrated and spending that energy being frustrated and then having to decompress and get back to a calm place, I need to just change it, because so much, like I told our therapist today, that I think, the reason I'm still sick like a week later is that my nervous system is just shot. It's like been in fight or flight mode for, I don't know, months, years, and it's just like, it's exhausting. And so I just want to encourage you to don't always wait on God to figure it out. Be an active participant. Be the driver in the change that you want to see. Allow yourself that day, if that's what you need, to feel sad, feel frustrated, feel all the feels, but then move through those feelings. That's what you have to do. And it's difficult, it's uncomfortable, but move through your feelings. So I hope that wherever you are having a great day. I appreciate you for watching this. And if you aren't having a great day, remember that tomorrow is a new day. I'll talk to you soon.